Hey there, you toadtastic beasts and amazing creatures. It's time for another McCroaks Late-Night Show with me, Toad McCroaks, and I've got my right-hand tortoise Carl by my side. Tonight's show is gonna be amazing. We have Bitty McBitface coming to talk about the project him and his team have going on, and he's gonna talk about the Memphis Lions and how they got Memphis to pay, everything that they're building. It's gonna be toadtastic. I am looking forward to it. This is actually the 5th episode, and I feel like it's perfect because Bitty McBitface and his whole team that he works with have so much going on that's already implemented. You can actually go and see a lot of the stuff that we're about to talk about already in effect. It's mind-blowing how much this team has got done with as much time as they've been in the Web3 space. I can't rave enough about them. So we'll go ahead and get this show started. Bitty McBitface, come on out. Bitty's going to be our only guest tonight. We have so much to cover that it's taken up the whole slot of the time, and you'll see why, because it's fantastic information. If you're into metaverse, if you're into development in this space, if you're into what the future is going to look like, this is the show you need to watch. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start the show. Bitty, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here. I'm a huge fan of everything that you and your team have going on.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we? Happy Saturday to you both.
Well, thank you. It's really an honor to have you here. Me and Carl have been looking forward to this one. We've been watching the project. We've been watching everything going on. So, if you would, explain to our viewers a little bit about what your team is doing.
As you guys will know, and perhaps some of your other listeners will know, yes. So my stage name is Bitty McBitface, and I am the co-founder of a Web3 startup company after the eponymously named Right Clickable, and Right Clickable is an absolute legend who you may be familiar with, and my business partner, and he's the guy who brought Pepe's to Solana, and has minted an awful lot of projects on Ethereum as well, and some of those earliest sort of Pepe the frogs on there as well. So he's been around in the space a very long time. And when we sort of got together about a year ago now, we were talking about various projects that we wanted to pursue, and we just found that we were essentially kindred spirits, and that a lot of our thinking, not only in terms of sort of project space, but also in terms of Web3 space, and what's possible, what's right, what's wrong, and where we need to be going, and it just felt right. So and maybe you and Carl have a similar sort of relationship. So I just wanted to get that out there at the start, because I do an awful lot of talking, and I get invited to various places to speak about Web3 and other related topics. But I'm always very keen to point out that it is a partnership, and my buddy and my partner, Right Clickable, can't get enough praise or airtime as far as I'm concerned. So what are we doing? So what we're doing is Web3 startup, as I said, and what we're doing is we're building a chain agnostic system of connected, modular, composable metaverses. What does that even mean? Oh, don't worry, I'll tell you. And at the moment, we've got a bunch of clients that we're working with, but one of them is the international soccer star Memphis Depay, and this project is the Memphis Lions Club, and I think that's what we're here to talk about today. And so I can deep dive you guys into that a little bit, and see see how we get on.
Yeah, most definitely, Bitty. You know, me and Carl are much like that. We're kindred spirits as much as we try not to be. Sorry, Carl. But yes, please continue. We would love to hear about the Memphis Lions Club.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do that. So, one of the things, a bit like you, actually, I'm just super excited about essentially the future of the internet. If that's not too grand a term. And so, what we're looking at really is, we're currently on a journey somewhere at the early transition, say, from Web 2 on this journey to Web 3. And as all these things that we'd never had before become available to us, it's just a really exciting prospect to see how we'll use them. And where we actually started, and the starting point for this particular project, was essentially to do a wrap up of what is wrong with the NFT space, from our perspective, as it were. And then once we had looked at what we thought was wrong, then we could set about building what we felt was right. If that sort of and that's not always the best way to start looking at something, but I think it gives us a lot of pointers. And so when we started looking around, so we thought to ourselves, okay, so this NFT space is super exciting, and it's been around for, well, you know depends what, how far you want to go back. But if you want to go all the way back to 2014 and quantum, then but I think when people really are talking about the NFT space, they're probably talking about the explosion over the last sort of 18 months or so. And so, if you like, we started a review of what was going on there. And although it's hugely exciting, essentially what we saw was that it was a fragmented sort of ecosystem with very narrow applications, quite a lot of user complexity, and a total lack of integration between the physical and digital worlds. And most of the time, a complete absence of any kind of utility for the holder, other than this sort of, if you like, the building a brand. But sadly, a lot of these brands never really built a brand, took the money and ran off to the hills and spent your hard-earned cash on whatever they fancied. So what was wrong? Well, those things were definitely wrong. But what could the NFT be? I mean, NFTs are so powerful, and I don't think we really understand truly yet where this is going to go, any of us. I mean, I'm not saying I'm an expert either. It's just I happen to be super excited about what it is that we're building. But what we're looking at here really is a digital lifestyle key, essentially, and that key obviously will have associated PFPs on Ethereum, and with our PFP mint on Ethereum, we actually are giving away a free 3D Sol avatar as well. So we're sort of dual minting, if you like. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to take the best things from Ethereum and the best things from Solana, and sort of put them together, because we feel that that is where the real utility is, in terms of the broadest offering that's going to be most useful to anyone who wants to mint with us. So once we've sort of got those digital keys, if you like, or NFTs. So we're going to use those to unlock benefits for the holder. So these are rights opportunities, entry to exclusive digital and physical sort of sub-gated communities within the Memphis verse, which is maybe we're too pleased with that and a bit too smug. So yes, of course, Memphis Depay's metaverse is the Memphis verse, and we laughed about that a lot. But actually, he liked it, we liked it, and so we sort of moved forward on that basis. But what we're looking at here is then what can we do with these new digital keys? How can we really exploit the power of NFTs, not only for us as a project, as a team, but more importantly for the user? Because I think that's why you see a lot of projects wither on the vine, because when that initial hype dies away, there's no real reason for people to be there. That's the main issue. So we need to give you a reason to be a holder. Why do you want to hold this NFT longer term? And I think the answer to that is primarily that you need to be incentivized to do that. How are you going to be incentivized to do it? Well, actually, it's probably because you are going to be able to monetize your own creativity and skills, or at least monetize your time, because these are the things that we're giving up on a daily basis, and these are the things that are the most valuable to us. So if we're not getting some kind of recompense for that, then the project's probably not going to work. And so when we're building the Memphisverse, which is the first of our networked multi-metaverses, what we're doing is we're packing this full of utilities, but we're doing it in a modular fashion. And what I mean by that is all the building blocks that go into the Memphisverse are building blocks that we can then take and use in the next connected verse that is then integrated back to the Memphisverse. And the reason that that's important is this, that one of the utilities, and we've got a list of utilities that we're going to talk about, but one of the utilities of being a lion holder is that you can have your own connected metaverse that is your version, a customizable version of what you see today in the Memphisverse, and then you can use that for your own community or your own project or your own business. Okay, so it's almost like being the GoDaddy of metaverses. So for a very low fee of just holding one lion, you can have your own connected metaverse, which is a huge business opportunity in itself, but only if it's got something useful in there for you. And that's where we come back to the utilities. And maybe if it's not too boring, I might run through a few of those, Mr. McCroaks, and just explain what they are and what they do and why certainly we feel that they're interesting.
Oh, please, Biddy, explain to us the utilities. A lot of projects around here use the word utility, and sometimes it's not really a utility, but it's a feature, or it's just a bonus that you get for being a part of the project. But the project you and your team are building has actual utility with it. So please continue.
And actually, before I do that, and I don't want to spin around too much, but it might be worth just sort of for me just to recap slightly on Memphis himself, because if you like, it's viewed as obviously, having any celebrity involved with an NFT project at one point was exciting, and there was a lot of interest and a lot of hype generated around that, but now has become almost like a dirty word. Like you're actually better off not being associated with a celebrity. But again, I think it's to do with using NFTs wrongly, or having no project but putting a famous face on it, or there's no benefit at all for the user, but somebody runs off with a bag of cash again, and that's this is what gives us a bad name in general. But the reason that we first tied up with Memphis is twofold, actually. Because we've got this connected metaverse system, what we want, of course, is we want some really interesting owners of metaverses in the central hubs of our system. And so one of those, of course, wouldn't it be amazing? I mean, all projects start out the same way, don't they? They say, look, at some point in the future, we promise you that we're going to get involved with some celebrities and some brands. That's how they sell you, right? But what I'm saying to you is, no, hang on. Day one, pre-mint, we've got celebrities that are already in this connected metaverse system. And not only that, we've got global brand partners, day one, already signed up. So, we don't have to guess and hope and dream. These things are already ready to go. But why then? Why Memphis in particular? Well, actually, he's quite an interesting guy, because outside his sports, which if you're certainly European anyway, you'll know a lot about that. Plays for Barcelona, plays for the Dutch national team, and so on and so forth. But actually, his life outside that is all about creativity and collaboration and fashion and music and art. And why is that? Well, he's a real force of nature himself, but he's the sort of guy that he likes rap music, but he doesn't think to himself, oh, you know what, Toady, I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna buy your rap music. He's like, no, I'm gonna start my own label. I'm gonna put out my own music. So this is a sort of guy that then wants to have an outlet for that in the metaverse. So he wants a meta stage. He needs one. He needs, to build these sorts of extensions, if you like, to his current businesses. So again, he says, oh, well, you know what? I really like fashion. But he's not buying your fashion. He starts Memphis to Pay clothing, right? So the guy's now got his own clothing lines. It's sort of a sports fashion leisure athleisure wear brand. But what he doesn't have is the ability to integrate that seamlessly into Web3. But that's where we come in, because we've already built tech to do that. And one of the things that we'll go on to talk about later is our airship technology. But what that is really, we built an app that allows you to read an NFT and see what that NFT is entitled to. And so if that NFT is wearing certain physical items from the Memphis to Pay clothing range, then those in a disassociated way can then be auto shipped to you once you just input where you want it sent. And so this particular app can integrate with any kind of sort of Shopify back-end system. So we're really thinking about apps that have a purpose, and this is just one of the sort of 10 or 15 apps that are already up and running that we, if we've got time, I'll run through. But so that's the second key thing about Memphis. So yes, he's a musical artist, and he needs that performance space. Fine, okay, he's got a clothing range, but he needs to take that Web 2 into Web 3. Fine, okay, that's another reason for us to be involved. That's another reason for him to have the Memphis verse. And then of course it's to do with his art. So he's an artist as well, and you might have seen the work that he's done with Puma, designing trainers and other sort of art collaborations that he's done. And so yeah, okay, so he wants a meta gallery. Of course he does. But he doesn't want it to be a Solana gallery or an Ethereum gallery, or he wants that to be completely chain agnostic, because he doesn't know where he's going to be working next. And so we've built that already. So we built that for him. So in building all of these things for the Memphis Lions Club, what we've done is we've built a lot of standalone apps that we can then roll out into you for your connected metaverse. So you say, hey, Bitty, it's Toady here. I want my own Toadyverse. Not a problem, my friend, because we've built the system and a user interface such that you can then come along and say, you know what, I see the Memphis verse here. I like this building. I like that building. This is no use to me. I don't want this. Here's my branding. And then we can bespoke, you can bespoke it yourself, because that's how we scale. So, there's some really interesting reasons behind the project. But the bones of it is that it's modular and composable. So you can take these modules, you can put them together however you like to build something that is useful to you. And that's the heart of where we started when I started rambling about 5 or 10 minutes ago. It's you're only going to use an NFT or go to a meta space if it's useful, and that's what we're building here: useful things. We hope, and no doubt the market will tell us, because the market is the arbiter of justice. And so if we built something that's cool, people will come and use it. And if we haven't, I guess they'll tell us that too.
I love it so much. And honestly, I believe that you're ahead of the curve. You're doing what people want to be doing. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And I can't stress enough, I really love what you're doing, and I love that you're actually bringing real utility into the project. You're bringing something that your holders will be able to actually utilize and benefit from. It's so fantastic to hear.
Well, we're incredibly lucky, actually, Toad, because what we have is, and again, it's, because I'm here talking to you and the team isn't here, obviously this sounds like I'm doing this all myself. Clearly, that's not true at all. As I said at the top of the show, it's all about my partner, Right Clickable, who's an absolute legend. But also we've got Neuro D, and if you hop on my channels, you'll see Neuro D's on there too, and he is our dev extraordinaire, and the things that he builds and the way that he builds and the way his mind work it's just incredible. And to give you a little sort of flavor into that, so what we're getting quite close to our mint date at the moment, but we're just sort of in fact we're having a bit of a meet on Monday just to check in with Memphis and to check in with our brand partners to find a new date, because I don't know if you caught that, but we had announced we were minting on the 15th, and then about a week after that, then we found out that that was basically going to be the Ethereum merge date, and we thought, right, well, I'm not saying that this will go right or wrong, but that's probably not the day to mint out a project. But when you've got so many different cogs involved, it is actually quite tricky then to find a new date, which is the process that we're going through at the moment. But anyway, back to devs and back to NeuroD. So now we're thinking, okay, we're going to mint out. So we need to deal with our Discord and our whitelist, and we need to marry these things up, and we need to essentially reward the guys and girls that have been with us since the start, and we need to make sure that these people get their whitelist. So there's a number of tools that you can go and buy for, I'm not going to sort of give everyone a shout out, but there's a number of tools you can go and buy that will do this for you. And some of these outfits are charging somewhere between sort of 0.8 and 2 ETH for these sorts of utilities. So we sat around the table and NeuroD just says, hang on, why are we paying these guys? I can make this in like 5 minutes. And it wasn't quite 5 minutes, but what we have now is we have our own Mint Pass app that NeuroD just spun up for us. But it's not just any old sort of Mint Pass app that connects with the Discord and ensures that everybody who's on the whitelist actually gets whitelisted. What he's actually done, and this is something that I have to sort of take my hat off to him for, is actually socially integrated. And what I mean by that, and that's something that you'll also see across our range of apps and dApps, is that when you get to a point, it will then ask you, say, hey, you have just achieved X, Y, and Z. Do you now want to tweet this out? If you do, click this button, then it takes you straight through back to the socials, and then you spin out on Twitter, hey, boom, I just got my Mint Pass, tag a few friends and they can get one too. But it's all about that sort of awareness, if you like, and social integration. And he just pops those sort of flavors in there for us just on a whim. And it really is, the success of this project will not be down to the dev team, because the dev team is awesome. What it'll be is, can we explain what is quite a complex project well enough? And that's what we're very grateful to you, Tony and Carl, to sort of let us come on the show and talk about that a little bit, because it's very hard to get across what it is that we're doing in a tweet. There's just not enough room there.
It's definitely hard to get your message across sometimes, especially when you have a project like yours that's doing so much.
I've actually talked with J. Gray a lot as well, and I know he's a friend of the show, and I like to think of him as a friend of ours too. And I think, and it's a point that he's always very quick to raise, which is that we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. So, we don't need to reinvent the marketing wheel. Yes, we're talking about things that are exciting and new, but we still need to hold on to those key sort of tenets, those key concepts of marketing, because that hasn't gone anywhere. And yes, okay, I might be tweeting a bit more than usual, but hey, why am I forgetting about my Instagram account? Why am I forgetting about my YouTube account? Why am I forgetting about getting some of our shows out on Twitch and streaming things out there as well? Because there's a whole wide world out there outside crypto Twitter, and sometimes I think sometimes we almost get locked in our own little echo chamber, don't we? And we reinforce our own prejudices. But it's something that, I'm super interested to hear more from you on, Toad. And as I said, J. Gray has got some amazing things. I'm a big fan of his, and always love to follow his accounts. But going back to that sort of social element and social aspect, so that's something that's very important to us. But the other thing, if you like, that is in line with that, and the theme of it, is just to reach out to other projects. So we're not building something that's closed loop in any way. So this is all about reaching out and extending the network. And obviously, as you will appreciate, the network effect is huge. And so there's no point in keeping things to yourself. We need to get out there and we need to talk to other projects. And that's what we've started doing already. So with things like our meta gallery, so that's our chain agnostic NFT gallery, we've asked people to come in and curate for us their own favorite NFTs. So you see brands in there. So FTX have come in and put together a really cool gallery for us, and they'll also be helping us out actually with part of the mint, and they're they're a great partner for us as well, and for Memphis. So that's something that I may return to. But also we've got our meta stage, and maybe I'm using the word meta too much. It's even starting to annoy me a little bit as well. But it's essentially our own version of Netflix. So, and these aren't things that are, as I said, imaginary. You can go and check it out right now today, and you can see what's up there. You can see what our friends and friendly projects have already curated. But essentially, what you get is you get your own version of Netflix where you can then spin through content. So if you're a content creator, you can upload that to our Netflix style system, or you can upload it to our meta gallery. And that's when you can start seeing the revenue and the monetization of your hard work and your output, because the economy that's going to be based around what we're building here is almost like an attention economy, and it's going to be based on around the clicks token, and so these tokens will be you'll be able to use them to upvote content. So these are not things we'll be selling; these will be things that people will be earning, and they will be the lifeblood of our ecosystem. But what will happen is that, let's say, Toad, you upload something that is super cool, so I'm going to upvote you with clicks, and then all of a sudden you'll get to the top of our main sort of Netflix style menu screen, and then you'll actually start receiving payments in clicks for having been there and having had your content viewed X amount of times. So this is a way that, just one way, that you'll be able to see a return, if you like, on your investment. So not only will you have your own Toadiverse full of the apps that we've already built, but you'll also be able to have your own content and other people's content cycling through your community screens. And in the background of the Memphis verse, you'll see we've got huge sort of jumbotrons and other sort of smaller advertising hoardings, but they're not necessarily so that brands can come and advertise, although if you had your own metaverse, you'd be free to come to any arrangement you like with brands, but also you can use those to promote your content, but then you can promote it in a connected way. So you can imagine you've got Carl's metaverse, Toadie's metaverse, Bitty's metaverse, Right Clickable's metaverse, the Memphis verse, and then you're putting things on your jumbotron that then go in the queue for Toadie's jumbotron and Carl's jumbotron, and that is just one example of how the network effect is going to bring communities together, but also broaden the platform for everyone who's involved in the space, who's a creator, who's actually building, who's doing something, and it doesn't have to be that you need to be the world's best video producer or the world's best artist, because it's all about community and time. So you might be enabling these things to happen. You might be community managing in what's going to be our version of the Discord, which is our clubhouse, basically. But it's essentially imagine a 3D version of Discord, and you can see in our sneak peeks, you can see this already. Again, I can't stress enough, these are not things that we're thinking about building. These are things we're currently building, and you can see the V1s right now. So you can come and play with it. You come and try and break it, give us some feedback. But we're building it out in a versioned way as well. So V1, V2, V3, every time adding more utility, more immersive sort of content, more ways to increase the value of the experience. So, but it's coming out in stages. So that's an important thing to remember too. But again, these ways that where do we start? We said, how are we going to connect socially and also integrate with other communities? Well, these are the ways that we're going to do that, and that's just sort of one example of it. So again, I'm always conscious, Toadie, that I talk too much, and sometimes you need to put your foot down and tell me, hey, Biddy, that's just too long a monologue. I'm going to jump right in here and tell you what's what.
No, not at all. I'm actually floored at everything you have to present today. I'm super bullish on the project, and I love all this stuff. It really gets the Toad geek in me going and gets my mind thinking. It's super awesome. So I'm in no way am I gonna tell you to stop.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Sam. It's always good to get some positive some feedback. Feedback's always good, and it's something that we're always. I know people don't like to do it because, especially if you're in your first sort of Twitter Spaces or whatever, some people don't like to sort of get up there and ask questions. But we always, we hope anyway that we're always super open and friendly, and we just want people to ask us questions. We're of the opinion that there are no, I was going to say there are no difficult questions. Of course, there are difficult questions, but there are no questions that we run away from. We want those difficult questions because it's the difficult questions that set projects apart, right? And when you ask the difficult questions and they go dark and you don't hear from them, you know that something's not right there. So that's why we do our Twitter Spaces twice a week. So we do a Tuesday and a Thursday Twitter Spaces where we just say, right, anyone come along. It doesn't have to be from our community. It can be from any community. Anyone who's interested, come and talk to us, come and poke us, come and basically find out what it is that you want to know. And so we're out there doing that. And of course, if you are of a shy disposition, and I know that doesn't apply to you and Carl, but if you are of a shy disposition, come and hit us up in the Discord. Just type those questions in there, and we'll get around to them. But again, hopefully, it's that openness that will sort of get people to come along on this journey with us. So if we're doing our job right, we're there, we're available, we're open, but also the other thing that we're sort of tweaking in this NFT model is, yes, we've got a roadmap. Of course, we've got a roadmap. But if you look at what's on our roadmap and what we've already built thus far, so it's almost like a try before you buy with the Memphis Lions Club. So we're saying, hey, yes, we're going to build these cool things, but also we've already built all these cool things. Come and play with them today. And if you like them today, then wait to see where we're going with those in the future. And so that's a sort of a point of differentiation, if you like, that I'm always keen to stress, because when we go into these sort of deeper meaningfuls on the project, it's easy to forget that most of this stuff already exists right now. It's already built, and we can go and play with it and have fun with it today. So, that's something I'm always keen to remind people that are interested in the project. If you are interested, come play. Let's test it out. Let's get you set up. Let's build you a gallery. Let's get you on our meta stage. If you've got a project, I was talking to some really interesting guys who want to do physical drops of sort of part of I guess it's more of a merch style project, but they want to figure out a way that they can deliver these items to their community, and how do they do that in a way that doesn't take you back to Web 2, go to a website, type in your details. It's like trying to hide Web 2 inside a Web 3 Easter egg. So they wanted to do things in a Web 3 way. So we said, hey, look, we can definitely help you with that. And that's where our Airship app comes in. That's exactly what it was designed to do. Not only can a project drop digital and physical items in a true Web3 way to its community, but outside brands, outside, if you've got a tie-up, you've got your own metaverse now, and you're going to be sponsored by Gatorade, and Gatorade want to drop something to your community, they can use the Airship app too. So, that's why it's important that all of these apps are standalone in nature, such that, yes, all us techie guys can use it. Yes, our Web3 communities can use it. Yes, NFT enthusiasts can use it, but also people who are no way interested in this space at all, but want to give something to a community, they can also do that. And that goes for the not only the Airship app, but also the gallery app and the video Netflix style app as well. If you want content on there and you want content shared across our connected metaverse network, you don't have to be an NFT enthusiast to do that. You can just be a brand that wants to market to a certain community. And if the community wants it, then the community can say yes to it, and then we can deliver it with the apps that we've already built. So that's another little sort of nugget, if you like, of golden info that we try to drag along with our project, is just openness, not only within the community, but outside. We're reaching out to brands, we're reaching out to communities, we're reaching out to anyone really who wants to market anything or wants to monetize something that they have, their creativity, their time, whatever it might be. And what we see actually is that Yes, when we went right at the top of the show, we started talking about the future of the internet, and I don't think the future of the internet, certainly over the next few years, is awfully different for the user than it is today. You'll still go to that browser, you'll type it into Chrome, and you'll go somewhere, but you'll just go to a different space, and it will be powered differently behind the scenes. But you, as the user, will still have a relatively familiar experience, albeit it'll be in now a vastly more immersive 3D environment. But you're not going to be asked to strap on 3D goggles in order to run around our meta spaces on day one. Yes, we're building such that we can do that over time, but also we're building such that you can access a lot of our content via your mobile phone. So if you're in somewhere, maybe slightly demographically less affluent, then maybe the routes to these immersive spaces and entertainments are limited by technology and internet connection. And we don't want that. We want the widest possible market. And so, in order to do so, we need to cover that entire spectrum. So, if you're coming to me on a mobile phone, you'll have an experience. If you're coming to me on a desktop PC, you'll have an experience. If you're coming to me with a headset, you'll have a different experience. But nonetheless, you're going to the same place. And I think that's the thing that we want to get over to people, that all of this is possible, and your view of it will just be to do with the platform and or the hardware that you're using to access it. But there's something there for everyone. And I think that's important, because that's where we're going to get the critical mass of interest from.
I absolutely love it, Biddy. And something that I always say, because I have little humans, they are always in some sort of metaverse. It's common for that generation to be immersed in some kind of metaverse, whether it's Fortnite, Roblox, or the Oculus. My thing is we are building for that future. When these little humans get to a business decision making age, it's not going to be different for them to be doing these things within a metaverse. It's not going to be weird for them to have a storefront in a meta space. It's going to be common for them. So these are the things that I believe we are all building on, and what you and the team are doing, you're taking that way further. You're bringing the future closer to the now, and I absolutely love it. And honestly, I didn't know there were so many layers within everything that you and the team are doing, and it's got me even more bullish.
No, thank you very much. And actually, I just want to touch on your point there, because I've got little humans myself, and I went to a new school, because they're of the age where they move schools here in the UK, and in that school now, in the computer science lab, they've now got a completely immersive space where each student will actually have their own headset. And if you look at the programming languages now that they're sort of expected to grapple with, when we, I remember, it probably shows my age now, but I remember the BBC Acorn. That's how far back I go. And so what these youngsters have today is just so exciting. And I did a little talk actually to some youngsters at the school, and normally when I try and explain, say the difference between Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, the metaverse, blockchain, crypto, NFTs, and how all of these things fit together to make the next evolution of the internet. When I'm talking to bankers, or I'm talking to guys that are, sort of executives looking to change their business to try and capture a new audience, they're the ones that struggle with all of this. When I talk to these little ones, I say, hey, do you know what do you know what a metaverse is? And maybe the answer will be no, but then they'll say, but hang on, are you not playing in Fortnite? Yeah, oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, look, you are playing in a version of a metaverse already. You're already there. And so that gap, sort of to get that age bracket to where we're going in the future is very narrow. Whereas when we're talking to old timers like myself, also, I think we've had too many years to become skeptical, and that is something that is a barrier that also needs to be overcome. But the way you overcome the barriers for those different age groups are totally different, and those youngsters, they're so open to new things, to change. It's amazing. Really love it. I'm super excited for them. Super excited for the future.
I am too. I'm looking forward to. I am too. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds. I I am too. I'm looking forward to seeing what it holds, and I'm well, as long as we don't burn it down before then, I think we'll be good. So let me ask, this is a routine on the show now, is what has been the most challenging aspect of building this project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there have been a lot of challenging aspects. So it's almost in a way the technology side of things is easier because that's directly under our control. But we're talking to global brand partners, so people may have seen that we're building things for Red Bull as part of their relationship with Memphis, and they're an amazing partner. But they're a business and they're a global business, so it's not as simple as just firing off an email and saying, "Hey, we're going to drop this on the socials tomorrow," and are we good to go? Because everything is contractual, and so and to get to a point where the legal department of a global brand is ready to sign something off, that is a lot of hard work. And this is something that I had no idea. I was thinking to myself, this is weeks, right? And it's been months. It's a whole different timescale. So when we're used to, in the NFT world, things move at the pace of light. After 2 minutes, whatever your last thought was, it's already out of date. Whereas when you're talking to old school, I'm going to use the word old school businesses, that is not how these things work. It's a totally different pace. And so trying to marry up those two different paces is really frustrating and really hard. So that is definitely a source of a lot of the issues that we face. As I touched on earlier, we have got an amazing guy who's working on this project with us, Memphis to Pay. He's a really interesting, really credible, really cool guy. But working with a celebrity right now in this space optically is tough. People just assume that this is the next big rug, and that is really hard. So trying to communicate what it is that we're doing. Hey, we're not here to sell you a carpet and then whip it from under your feet. We're actually building something for you here. But that association, although it brings many benefits with it, it also brings, in our crypto Twitter space anyway, it brings a lot of challenge. So that is definitely something that is hard, and definitely something that we're sort of working with. And then, thirdly, I mean, I don't want to labour all our issues, because I don't want to sound like I'm whinging, because we're having an amazing time and we're making a huge amount of progress. But things that I've talked to J. Gray about, which is how do we concisely explain what it is that we're up to? That's really hard, and getting that message across to people in a way that is easily digestible, super hard. So we've been struggling with how we actually describe ourselves and what we're doing in short format text. And so one of the things that we're actually working on at the moment, we've got another insanely cool and talented guy working with us, Mr. Shitcoin Sherpa, who I've got to give him a shout out as well, because he's got not only has he got some super interesting ideas himself, he can write like nobody's business. And so what we're looking at the moment is we're looking for maybe medium articles actually are the way that we can detail out exactly what it is that we're doing in that longer format, so that if people really are interested, then they can see it all and digest it in their own time, because that may be a part of something that then helps us to deliver the message that we need. So all of those sort of issues, if you like, I would 100% recommend talking to a marketeer about that, such as yourself, of course, as well, because I know that's your game. But these things should not be forgotten, and they are super hard. And if you've not got the hype machine behind you, you need to think how you're going to do that, and do not necessarily ditch things that you've learned in other lives, in other industries, with other experiences, because these things definitely do help. I guess those three issues, I would say, Jodie, are the things that we've sort of challenged ourselves with, and hopefully overcoming all of those issues, but not easy, not easy at all. And they are not the issues that perhaps NFT sort of Web3 companies talk about, because you expect the problems to be the tech. The problems are not the tech. If you've got the right team, and Neuro and the guys that he's got working with him, that is the right team. So we're not worried about the tech at all, but we are struggling on those three aspects. But nonetheless, every day is a new day, and we get up and we grind and we make it happen.
Yeah, and that's the best we can do right now. And I feel like those issues are very common within this space. So those are just things that we're just gonna have to build and grow.
Yeah, it's a strange old space at the moment, and of course, when I was sort of listing the things that we find as challenging at the moment, of course, I'm not even talking about the state of the market. I mean, we've been working on this project since sort of December, January time, right? And December, January time, don't quote me on this, but the price of Solana was in the high hundreds. It might even been, it wasn't quite at its peak, but it was going up that way. Now we're sort of, we seem to be in a bit of a holding pattern, maybe around sort of that sort of $30 mark. But these things are all challenges, but these are sort of macro challenges, if you like. So I'm not talking about the macro. I'm just talking about our specific challenges. But of course, anyone who's looking to launch a project at the moment faces significant headwinds. But again, I always try and put my sort of face to the sun and think of how can this be positive, if you like. And certainly there is less noise at the moment on crypto Twitter. There's less projects launching. So that gives us maybe a bit of breathing space to put our elbows out and establish a bit of room at the table, if you like, that we perhaps wouldn't have had in a more crowded space. And I know that's really reaching for positives, because hell yeah, wouldn't I like my entire stack of Solana to still be worth $230? Of course I would. But you've got to try and look for those positives. So the positives that I take from it is that there is more space now, and a lot of the projects that were out and out rugs, they're rugged and gone. Projects just aren't launching because they can't get the traction, they can't get the money that they think they want to bring out of it. So the space is, cleaning up's the wrong word, because it definitely isn't cleaning up, but a lot of the deadwood maybe has left. So that's that's a small positive, that people who really are building and really are keen to make a difference in the space, the opportunity's there. Doesn't mean you'll get it, but the opportunity's there.
I absolutely love the way that you phrase that the opportunity is there, and because that's 100% true. It's about the opportunity, and you're setting yourself up. Your team is setting themselves up to be in that spot, to grasp that opportunity, and I absolutely love that. And speaking of grasping opportunity, so how exactly did you and your team get involved with Memphis Dupay? How did that come about?
Yep, great question. Absolutely, great question. So, we actually got intro to Memphis via his management team, and the management team is actually part of a bigger agency, if you like, that looks after a lot of high-profile individuals. And I think that's why we managed to gain some early traction to get to the meetings where we could pitch the ideas. We were able to get there because, of course, we're talking about a connected metaverse system here. So, if you can prove your concept and make it work super well for somebody like Memphis, then that then opens the doors to the rest of that talent that's held by the agency. So the agency are interested, because if it's something that can work, then there's a lot more talent that will require its own metaverse. So that is definitely that's definitely one of the reasons why we're able to get into the room in the first place, if you like. And then it just, I think, luckily for us, what we were proposing to Memphis made a lot of sense to him, because he has all these other businesses. He's not a one-trick pony. He has all these things that are of interest to him, and they can be of real benefit in a new Web3 interconnected fashion. So I think we were just right time, right place in that respect. But of course, like anything, you get lucky by going out and networking and talking to people. Nobody ever gets lucky sitting at home watching television. I can tell you that for free, right? You've got to get out there, you've got to go talk to people, and you've got to make these things happen. Get yourself in the room. Obviously, you need to be able to deliver, which is what we're doing at the moment. But we got ourselves into the right room with the right people, and thankfully, we pitched the right project, which we have then over the last 9 months built out. So, our conscience is clean. We said we were going to do something, and we've built it. Now what we need to do is make sure that we market it correctly, if you like, because no NFT is worth anything without a community. No system of connected metaverses is going to be worth anything without a community. And so that is now what we're turning our attention to. It's that community building and interesting projects in what it is that we have built. And you don't need me to tell you that the graveyard, if you like, of NFT projects is long, but the things that they need are things that we have built. So if you look at any defunct-ish dead project that wants to reinvigorate itself right now, what do they need to do? They need to knock on the door of the Memphis Lions and say, hey, I need one of those connected metaverses because we promised our community that we would build a meta gallery. Hey, look, I've already built one of those. So you get that day one. You look at the roadmaps for all these defunct projects. What was it? Like about 6 months ago, we're going to build you a meta gallery. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build a meta gallery. We've already built one. You can use it today, and you can have it just by minting a little line with us. So, and that is just one of the 15 utilities that we've got. So any project that's out there that wants to give itself a shot in the arm, come and see us. You could be one of our launch partner projects. Because what we'll probably do is we'll pick a handful of projects and give them connected metaverses and then get them set up, hold the hands through that process. And then by that, we will demonstrate the power of what it is that we're doing. And, again, we haven't set a mint price for the product. But I can tell you that we're talking about things in the low hundreds of, we are not talking about 1 ETH or 0.1 ETH. We are talking about a very modest sum indeed. And the reason that we're talking about these modest sums is A, because the market won't bear it, but B, because we want as many communities and as many people to get involved with us as possible. And we don't do that by trying to mint out at 1 ETH or something mad like that, which, if you looked at the dollar value and someone said to you, I'm going to give you a metaverse for this amount of dollars, people would be biting your arm off. You can't even buy a bog standard Shopified Web 2 website for the amount of money that we're going to be giving you a connected metaverse for. So, these are things that we just have to get across. And I think the best way to get it across in some certain circumstances, maybe this one, is to demonstrate. And so that's what we need to do. We need to get these partners on, we need to set them up, show how the system works, and then I think people will get super excited.
Biddy, you're getting me excited. I love the project. I can't wait to see what happens. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. So I'm going to see if Carl wants to ask you any questions before we wrap this up. Carl, do you have any questions for Biddy?
Thanks, Toad. Yeah, I do. Biddy, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with you. I love the Memphis Lions project. I love its inclusivity. It's very forward-thinking in terms of the Web3 space. I like the platform it's building on. I'm extremely intrigued, about, by the extensibility of the project and its partnerships. It seems Solana lends itself to scaling metaverse projects like this, and it's really cool how you guys are developing. And so I was wondering, do you all have any consideration, being put towards the compatibility of like the Memphis verse and its assets with other outside VR integrated metaverse projects and platforms?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Carl. So what we want to do, an example of what you just asked really is possibly our games arena. So what we've also got, and you'll be able to see these in our sneak peeks, is we've been reskinning classic arcade games with Lions. And, for example, you might see the Streets of Rage we got going on at the moment. But the reason that we're doing that is not because we just want to reskin a game. The reason that we're doing that is because that is going to be something that not only is entertaining, but is something that can deliver value to the community. And the way it can deliver value to the community is that when you smash open a crate and instead of a baseball bat popping out, maybe a digital item pops out of there, or a physical drop, or anything at all. And so we're using it as a vehicle to gamify certain experiences, as it were. But that is just one game in our meta arena. But that meta arena is going to be open to anyone who wants to reskin a game and put it on the connected network. So it's not just our games. So if you're a hardcore games developer, you can actually put games in there. If you want to reskin games and put them in there, you can do that. And it's the same with essentially all of our apps, because what we want to do is we want people to plug into us. So we don't want, there's no, we don't want to be a proprietary system with a closed loop with some sort of downloadable software that just limits people who can get involved. We want to be open, and that's another example of the ways that we are open to anyone who wants to come along and do something with us, because we see the value in openness. We see no value in closed loop. So, but you're absolutely right to ask that question, Cole. And that's just an example of the way we're building out, if you like, with our arms outstretched. We're saying to people, hey, come, let's be friends. Let's build this together, because that's where the value will be, building together, not keeping it all to ourselves.
That's awesome. That is the exact kind of answer that I was expecting out of it. I'm really bullish on it, and I look forward to seeing a lot of the cool stuff to come in the future. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, sir. That's a real pleasure.
Biddy, I absolutely love that every time we start talking, there's more information. It's just compounding and compounding upon itself. It's like you have so much going on and you just can't get it out fast enough. It's amazing how there's always more information just continuously added every time we talk.
I appreciate it. It probably comes across. It is just a big project, it's difficult to get it all out into one session. And I know what will happen after this. I'll sit down and I'll sit there and right clickable will say to me, hey, Billy, you didn't mention this. You didn't mention that. Why didn't you mention this? Why didn't you mention that? Like, dude, there's just too much. But don't worry, the marketing aspect of it, and if you like, the laying out of it is something that we're working on. So, we need to be looking at maybe checkbox graphics. We need to be saying, what does the Memphis Lions Club project do for you? Check, 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 check. I think we need to lay it out in such a fashion that everyone can see what we're up to, and that's the thing that we struggle a little bit with at the moment. And I know RC is going to give me a little ribbing about that when we next speak. But I think in the hour's time that we had, hopefully it was informative and entertaining in some respects. And of course, if anybody wants to know more, where do you find out more? Follow the Memphis Lions Club, follow Right Clickable, follow Shitcoin Sherpa, follow NeuroD, follow me, myself, Biddy McBitface, and also just get in touch with friends of the project. Ask it. There's no better way of marketing, actually, probably, than word of mouth. So look into our meta gallery, look at the FTX exhibits in there. Why are FTX putting exhibits in our gallery? Why is there an FTX honorary lion with SBF shoes tasseled across his shoulder? Why is this all happening? It's because actually we have been working with FTX for about 6 months, because what we want to do actually is we'll be minting probably half the collection on our own site, and half the collection will be minting with FTX. And the reason we're doing that is twofold, actually. The reason we're doing that is that, first of all, we appreciate that not everybody wants to be purchasing in a way where you've had to fully KYC. So totally get that. So that's why we're minting on our own site. But why are we minting at all with FTX? Apart from the fact that FTX, if you like, is a badge of honor for us, because nobody gets to mint with FTX if you are not a trustworthy, fully verified individual, right? So that is something that gives us a real boost of credibility as well. But also, a lot of Memphis's fans are coming to us, and they are not crypto natives. So you say to them, right, okay, it's MetaMask time, it's Phantom Wallet time, it's go to an exchange time, and it's confusing, and I totally get that. But somebody like FTX, they will be developing their own splash page for us, so they can anybody who's interested who is not digitally as aware as we all are, they can go there, they can land on that page. If they wanted to, they could buy same-day credit card. And that's another thing that people don't often get with FTX or other launch pads or other platforms. But we get that with FTX. Why? Because we're trusted. Why are we trusted? Because we're real people building real things. And so it's things like that that I think also probably need to be added to that list, Toad and Carlo. And I might put a little checkbox in there about FTX as well. But that's why you see a lot of FTX branding. They're in our partnership pavilion. That's why they've got a 3D floating logo at the back of the Memphis verse, because they're really important to us, and we hope to be important to them as time moves forward.
Biddy, I love it. If you want to, right now is a great time. I'm going to give you the floor so you can go ahead and say anything that you want, anything that we may have missed that I didn't ask. Please feel free to use this time right now to express your grief with me. No, I'm just kidding. But go ahead and anything that we've missed, please feel free to tell us about it.
Well, that's very kind. I think what I would like to mention actually is, again, just to stress that this is a team. So I do a lot of talking. I'll be honest, I love the sound of my own voice, and maybe a bit too much. But I need to talk more about the team. So, we've got Right Clickable, we've got NeuroD, we've got Shitcoin Sherpa, we've actually got Gizzy, who is our multi-talented graphic designer. We've got Animator, 3D models. We've got all sorts of people that plug in to make this project what it is, and they all need a serious boost. And I remember also, Toad, when you hit me up earlier in the DM, you said, "Oh yeah, I guess I think it's something along the lines of who are your inspirations or whatever, sort of something along those lines." And actually, I have to say that my inspirations are people that make me better. So my team makes me better. When I see them working their balls off, that makes me want to work my balls off. So I've got to say that, but also I've got to give it up to my family as well, because this Web3 business is all consuming, right? I'm here in the UK. The team is out in the States mostly, so I'm working all sorts of hours. And then when the alarm goes in the morning, I've got to be ready for Eastern European time as well, right? So I am working a hell of a lot in really weird hours, and it's only possible because my wife supports me. She is really my rock, and she makes me a better person. So I want to give mad props out to everybody who makes me a better person by virtue of the examples that they set and the way that they interact with me. So, and that goes for you guys as well. So Carl, Tony, got to take my hat off to you. You guys give me a platform, give me some time. I've got mad respect for that. And I'd also like to give another little plug out to my man, J.Gray, because J.Gray talks a hell of a lot of sense. And I'd insta follow him if you're not following him.
Well, obviously, we absolutely love J.Gray here. We love his marketing aspects, his business aspects that he brings to the show. I hate that he wasn't here today, because this would have been a great one for him to be in. And I'm sure he would have had some great questions for you. We'll have to get you back on the show and get J.Gray back in here. But he's going to be touching grass. But J.Gray's going to be finished touching grass soon, so he'll be back in here on the next shows. So, Biddy, before we get out, how can people find stuff about the project, about Memphis Lions? Is there a website? What do we need to do?
Yes, absolutely. So it's the MemphisLionsClub.com. So that's where you can go and check out the Memphis verse. So when you go to that URL, what you'll find is a 3D cityscape. And in that cityscape, there are a number of buildings. And those buildings, if you like, are our roadmap. So one of the buildings is an NFT gallery space. So you click on that building, you zoom in, you go into that building, and you get into the building. And that's where you find these curated galleries that I'm talking about. And likewise with the meta stage for our version, if you like, of something that will look and feel a bit Netflixy, where you can put your own content up there. So MemphisLionsClub.com is a great place to go to see the things that I'm talking about that do exist, that we've already built. These things are there. Please go and check them out. But you can follow, and again, unfortunately, with the URLs and the ats and the tags, as it were, don't always mirror up nicely, sadly. So on Twitter, we're at Memphis Lions. On Instagram, we're at Memphis Lions Club. So these are all places you can find out more about the project. But I would highly recommend that. Also, we've got our Discord, Memphis Lions Club. Come and check us out in the Discord as well. So we are available on hopefully as many platforms as we can right now. Definitely want to be getting into some YouTube action and maybe some TikTok, but sadly my dancing is not cool. So maybe we need someone else to do a bit of dancing. I don't know what else goes on TikTok, but I need to find that out. But yeah, those are the main places that you can find out more. But also give me a follow, Bitty McBitface. If you want to know anything about the project, just hit me up, slide into my DMs. I'm always friendly, approachable, I like to think, and always give people the time of day. So, it's all about that openness that I was talking about earlier. Just shoot me some questions and let's hook up, let's engage. And then, of course, go and check out my main man, Right Clickable, at Right Clickable. It's what he puts out on his feed is very, very interesting, but also insanely dope art. Just check him out. That's the best place to find out more about this project.
Well, thank you, Biddy. I really appreciate you being here with us tonight.
100%, brother. Much love coming back to you and Carl.
I'm just super stoked about, the future of the internet and great builders like yourself and your team, Biddy. This is awesome. Thank you again.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure. Absolutely loved it. And as I said, can't wait to connect again.
So everyone, please go check out Memphis Lions Club. Check out Bitty McBitface. Check out what the whole team has going on. It's gonna be, the future's gonna be amazing. Well, everyone, this is the end of the show. I hope everyone had a good time. I hope you all gained some valuable information tonight. And I look forward to the future. Next week we have some really awesome guests as well. I hope everybody has a good night. And if you want your NFT to be in Pablo Knight's NFT vote off, reach out to Pablo Knight. That's on Twitter at Pablo Knight 10. Reach out to him so you can get entered into the contest. We have some big plans coming with Pablo Knight. I'm super looking forward to it. So, everyone have a great night. Much toad love, my friends. I hope to see y'all at the next show.
Say let's give it